Story 1. About 5 or 6 years ago, I was taking on odd jobs alongside my retail job just to make some extra cash. One of the odd jobs I decided to take was a ghost tour guide in Gettysburg, Pennsylvania. For anyone who is unaware, Gettysburg is notoriously haunted, and ghost tour companies are all over the place. The particular company I was working for did those ghost investigation type tours where you go out with equipment and ask questions and try to get reactions from the ghosts. The place I worked for was very, very new, but gaining a lot of popularity because our Yelp and TripAdvisor ratings were immaculate. The tours were fun. I made a good wage and even better tips. Although one night in particular made me quit for good. I took a huge group of people out, around 25-30 people total in our group. Since it was so big, another guide accompanied me and we split the group. We would go to the area in which we were investigating, and we would split the group among the different investigation areas. Everything was going rather well, and we had a very diverse group, which always made the tours such an enjoyable experience, both for me and the customers. My group was a Russian family, some southern tourists, and some tourists from New York City. The difference in beliefs made this night particularly fun, and at the start of every tour, we would ask who believes in what, go over tips to experiencing something, and just general safety on how the equipment works. Having a wonderful night with my guests, we decide to use a ghost box. Now, if you aren't familiar with this seemingly dumb invention, it basically plays FM signals backwards so you can hear EVP. We're in a circle and asking questions individually to see if we can hear a voice out of this amazingly horrible to hear device. When someone asks if anyone is there, and we hear a very clear hello, obviously we're spooked, but figure someone is screwing with the group, and one of the southern women I'm with is saying some not today Satan prayer crap. I don't know. Then we start hearing full sentences, clearly being formed via static coming out of Jimmy's genuine ghost translator that says, "I will hurt Justin if he leaves." Okay, point taken, spirit. Then this very interested African American kid beside me asks what it said. The voice begins repeating, "Justin cannot leave. Justin cannot leave. Justin cannot leave." So screw that, I turned it off, decided we were in Gettysburg, not Amityville, and switch places with the other group. As we're walking to the next spot, the kid who asked what the voice said comes up to me and says, "Can I stay by you? I'm not really comfortable anymore." I understood why he'd be freaked out, but I asked him what's going on. Then he looks at me with probably the most worried face I've ever seen and says, "My name is Justin. I haven't told anyone that here." I had been present with this portion of the group the whole night, listening to every conversation necessary with these tours to make sure everyone is comfortable, and could verify that I hadn't heard him tell anyone that. After the tour, I took my cut, plus the tips I received for properly scaring the ever-loving crap out of everyone, called my boss and told her that I would not be doing any more ghost tours. For nights on end, I could not sleep without thinking about that voice. Story 2. I grew up in rural Maine, and the house I grew up in was extremely haunted. Like, legit some Stephen King crap. First day we moved in, my dad was walking down the hall from his room when he felt something following him. It felt small and was moving clumsily, so he thought it was me, 2 years old, and kept walking to the kitchen. Once he got there, he went to turn towards me to ask if I wanted a sandwich, but when he turned around, it wasn't me. It was a small, pitch-dark orb that giggled and ran into the wall. One night, my mom and my dad both suddenly heard me crying, but when they went to check on me, I wasn't in my room. Let it be said, they had one of those tall baby gates that was a good inch above my height. There was nothing near the baby gate that I could have climbed or jumped off of to get over it. Yet, they found me in the kitchen, facing the door to the side storage room, crying, "Mommy, Mommy, help me." They have never figured out how I got over the baby gate without harming myself or without the help of an object. The doors to our shower were frosted glass, but you could always see through it a little. If you were standing in there cleaning the inside of the doors or cleaning the tub, you would only see the outline of the toilet, sink, or window. But every time I went to take a shower, a shadow of a large man would always slowly appear the longer I stayed in. No, it wasn't the steam. I tested that right before I left, ran the shower, and stood half in, half out of it. I couldn't see anything in the actual room, but could see the shadow through the door. I rubbed the door to see if it was steam, and nope, it wasn't. Freaked me the hell out every time. Sitting in my living room and could see down the hall to the 2 bedrooms in the house. My door was open, and my full-length mirror showed myself sitting in the recliner on my iPod Touch. When I looked up, my face wasn't my face, just some void with no eyes and melting lips. I kept my mirror turned around the rest of the time I lived there and made my dad make a salt line in the entrance of our new apartment so that when I brought the mirror in, nothing would come in it. We figured out we were moving, and that's all we talked about. We were all happy to move, and we started packing as soon as we knew. Whatever was in that house wasn't happy, 'cause the activity picked up. I started hearing jumping on my dad's bed, springs creaking and such, and heard little kids giggling. When my mom and I went in there, 2 little feet imprints stood on the bed and jumped off after my mom told them to leave. I suddenly started waking up at 3:07 a.m. every night to the smell of lavender that was also slightly sour. Things would go missing that we knew we had left in a particular spot. You know, classic ghost spirits trying to mess with you kind of crap. Last day we lived there, everyone had left to bring the U-Haul to the new place 45 minutes away. I had stayed behind with my mom because there wasn't enough room until they unloaded everything. I was sitting in my room, reminiscing and thinking about my life, when the fan in my window turned on. With this kind of fan, if it ever got too windy outside, it would speed the blades up enough to turn it on because it was so old and slightly broken too. Well, I left it on for a bit, but it was getting cold, so I stood up to turn it off when I looked outside. No wind, still trees, literally no sign of any wind after a minute of watching. I shrugged and just thought maybe it was just finally breaking and would just always keep turning on and off. I went to unplug the cord and froze when I saw that it wasn't even plugged in. No wind, unplugged, and going full force as the room got colder and colder, like way colder than it would get with the fan on. I booked it out of the room and stayed outside until my dad got back. So yeah, some weird crap went on there. I used to sleep in my dad's room when he started to work overnight, and every night at 2 a.m. I would wake up crying, staring at the corner of the room while the TV would be static, even though we had it left on a certain channel. I hope to go back one day just to see it one more time. Story 3. When I was in 5th grade, my family moved to a military base in Germany. We moved into a house that seemed pretty normal, but not too long after we moved in, there was many strange things that happened to make us all believe that the paranormal is a real thing. One instance was one day after school, I walked home alone like any other day. As I got to the front door and opened it, all the doors that were visible from the front door, which was 4, were slamming open and closed repeatedly. I stood there for about 5 seconds, scared out of my mind, before I noped out of there and waited outside for my brother to come home. Just to get a better visual, once you open the front door, there is a hallway and you can see the doors of the bathroom, a bedroom, the basement, and a closet. I waited outside for about 30 minutes and my brother finally got home and was with his friend. He asked me why I was waiting outside and I told him what I just saw. His friend and him didn't believe me and went up to the house while I waited outside. Not a minute later, my brother and his friend came running back outside to me and told me what they saw. They said they saw the same thing with the doors and also heard yelling coming from the basement. My brother and his friend proceeded to leave me alone outside while they went to a rec center for teenagers. I wasn't old enough, so I just waited for my dad to get home from work. Eventually, while waiting for my dad for an hour, I thought he was taking too long and decided to just run into the house and into the living room and hope I didn't get killed. I did just that, and all of the paranormal activity stopped before I even got back into the house. I think if it was still happening, I would have just continued to wait outside. My brother and I told my dad what happened, but don't think he believed us or came up with some random explanation. I don't really remember how exactly he reacted to that. One other thing my dad experienced was a dark figure of a man that would walk down the hallway and walk around downstairs in the basement. My dad told us that when we were away in the U.S. for the summer and he was home alone, he would see a dark figure open doors and go into rooms. I remember one story he said was that he was downstairs in the basement. The basement included another hallway, 2 bedrooms for my brother and me, and a bathroom with a laundry machine and dryer. While in the basement, he was doing laundry and kept our bedroom doors closed since we weren't there, but suddenly he heard a door open, and when he looked down the hallway and said he saw someone walk into my bedroom, he checked but didn't see anyone, but told us that it was really creepy and became a believer after a few instances of similar paranormal experiences in that house. Many friends that have stayed over have seen this black figure of a man walking around and even seen doors randomly opening or closing. I eventually even had to move to a bedroom upstairs since the stuff downstairs that I saw kept me from wanting to sleep in my own bedroom. I have so many stories of things that have happened in that house, but don't want to overload everyone with stories. I lived in that house for 5 years and enjoyed most of my time there except for the occasional ghost crap that happened. Well, that's the end of the stories, and I hope you enjoyed them. Please leave a like if you enjoyed these stories. It really helps my channel. If you have any ghost stories that you would like to share with me, you can email them to me at scarediariesyt@gmail.com. Thank you for listening and have a wonderful day. Bye.